questions. I've got the chat box up as well. Chris, great to see you too. And so you can type your questions in the chat box, or once we get to a Q&A section later, if you're not familiar with Zoom, you probably are by now because we've been doing a lot of trainings on Zoom. You can go down at the bottom of your screen and there'll be a menu, and that's where you can go to unmute yourself and ask questions. One of the things that I want to kind of start off on a little bit of a lighter note and go over some stuff. This is actually from a podcast that I heard almost a year ago. And when I first heard it, I was actually running, and I listen to a lot of podcasts when I run. And I thought, this is really good. I need to listen to this at some point in time where I can stop and take notes. And so I decided that driving would be a good time to do that, which was not a good idea. And so I was driving and trying to listen to the podcast and take notes, and that didn't work. So finally I was like, you know what? I just need to sit down one day, listen to this podcast and take some notes. And it's very applicable with what we're dealing with right now with the whole COVID-19 thing, but it is also extremely applicable to our business in general. So that's the thing that when I heard it, it just kept telling me how relatable this was to our business. So I want to talk a little bit about this before we get into the nitty-gritty of the carrier information and share this with you and hope it helps some of you. It actually comes from a book that some of us read, and it's called Romans. And actually the verse is chapter 5, verses 3 and 4. So it's Romans 5, 3 and 4. So it's before that verse, it talks about the hope that we have in God and God's glory and the faith and the hope that we have because of that, which is, pretty easy. But then it gets into verse 3. It's where it starts getting hard, because verse 3 says, not only do we hope in the glory of God, which is the previous verse it's talking about. It says, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings. And that's the hard part. That's where it's not always so easy. I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel like doing much glorying when it's suffering. But it says we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. And so what they were talking about was they called it the hope cycle. And so I have kind of a little drawing here that I'll put. It's not really a drawing, but this is the hope cycle in my hands. So Romans 5, verses 3 and 4, the hope cycle. We start at the top with hope, then we go to suffering, because that's what the scripture says, that we have hope and we glory in our sufferings. And that this is the part where when we are suffering, when things aren't going the way we want it to go, when COVID-19 comes along and completely changes how we have to do business and how we have to live in general. Anytime there's a bump in the road, be it life, be it business, whatever, there are going to be hard in the suffering. And unfortunately, that happens with some people. They get stuck in the suffering. And we see this, what kept coming to mind with me in our business was people that we bring in the business. And in the beginning, it's tough, and there's a learning curve, and they're dialing, and maybe they're not having the success they want to have on the phone or with recruiting or whatever, and they get stuck in the suffering, and they stop there. And that's the key, is we can't stop in the suffering. You have to keep going. And when they get stuck in that suffering and they stop there, they quit. And that never gets them back to the hope that we started with. So one of the big key things is not stopping in the suffering. And that's what I've seen this team through this whole COVID-19 thing is, yes, it's been hard. It's been difficult. people that are very used to getting on the phone and booking appointments are now having to get on the phone and do sales, and it's tough and it sucks. It's not easy in the beginning, and you want to quit. I have heard the stories. I've talked to many of you. It's like, it is not fun. But what I've seen this team do is push through and get through the suffering. And the really cool part that I've seen is how this community called the Alliance has come together. And everybody from all over the country is sharing tips and phone scripts, and hey, we did this and it didn't work, and we changed this and it seems to be working good. And we're tweaking things as we go because everything keeps changing. But because of the amazing team that we have here at the Alliance, that learning curve, which could be massive, has been shortened dramatically because of all of the sharing and the training and all of that. It's just shortened that learning curve, and therefore people can get through the suffering faster, which is awesome. And we talk about this amazing community that we have, and we all knew it was there, but it has been so evident in this crisis, just everybody coming together and helping each other and just pushing through the suffering, because it's not been fun. And this won't be the last time we have to do this. There will be something else in our life or in our business that causes that suffering, but the key in the suffering is don't stop there. Keep going, because what the verse told us, that suffering produces perseverance. And that's the next part of the cycle. So we start with hope, then we've got suffering, then we get to perseverance. I keep looking to see if the camera's catching that. So we go from the suffering to the perseverance. And the cool thing that happens in the perseverance is that's where you find strength. That's where you realize, oh my gosh, we can do this. We're going to make it through this. And that's where you find strength. And you just keep pushing through. You just keep persevering. And as long as you keep persevering, you're going to find strength. And you're going to pull in those areas and find strength in those areas that you never even knew you had. And the reason why I remember this, that it was about a year that I first heard this podcast, was it was a Mother's Day message. And they were talking about, as an example of this perseverance, they were talking about mothers in particular, because it's Mother's Day. But I know it applies to you fathers too. And it's just like, that's a never ending job. No matter how you feel, no matter what else is going on in life, you got a parent. It doesn't stop. And when you're sick, it doesn't stop. When you're busy, it doesn't stop. When they close the school and you have to homeschool your kids, it doesn't stop. It's just this never ending process. And I'm not a mom, so I can't relate to that personally, but I do have a sister who has 4 kids, and I've seen it. And one of the things that I just remember is, and this happens to every parent at some point in time, is somebody gets sick. And so then they've thrown up in the bed, and now you got to take the sheets off the bed, get them into the washing machine, go find new sheets to put on the bed. Now the kid's thrown up somewhere else. At the same time, you probably don't feel the greatest either. And all of this is happening at like 3 a.m. because, of course, they have to get sick at 3 a.m. And so it was just talking about that persevering. And I remember I was at my sister's one time, and the whole entire family got something. All of us got it. It was terrible. Thank God it was a 24-hour thing, because I think it would have killed you if it lasted beyond that. All of us were sick. I had to get on a plane on Monday, and I was so sick I'd already passed out twice. And it was crazy. And so the only person in the whole entire family that was well enough to take me to the airport on Monday morning was my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. And it was the saddest trip to the airport you have ever seen, because I'm drinking ginger ale and eating crackers because I'm like, I've got to stop passing out. I've got to get in the airport and I can't pass out. So I'm trying to get sustenance in so I'll stop passing out. My brother-in-law has been throwing up for like 24 hours solid. So I'm like, you want some ginger ale? And he's like, no, so I don't want anything. He didn't want anything in his stomach because it's like it just keeps coming up. And it was the saddest trip to the airport you have ever seen. But, those kind of things happen, and you just keep persevering. You do what you got to do, and you find that strength that you never thought you had. And I know everybody on this call has gone through that in some point and in some factor in your life. And then the cool thing is with that perseverance produces character, is what the scripture said. So that's the next part of the cycle. So we go from hope to suffering to perseverance to character. And the cool thing that happens once we get back to that character, now we're on the upswing again. We got through the suffering, we persevered, we get to the character. That character building is because of the strength that we got while we persevered. We find out with the character phase that we're stronger than we ever thought we were. We've all gone through things in life that we're like, oh my gosh, I thought that one was going to do me in. I know that scripture says that God will never give you more than you can handle, but I don't know about you guys. I've had that conversation with God that's like, hey, I think you've got the wrong person. I don't think, I think he mixed me up with somebody else when it came to giving you enough that you can handle. I think maybe the wires got crossed there somewhere. I've had that conversation, but we've found that strength, and that we've built that character that knows we can get through this, because we've gone through things. Every time we go through this cycle, we build new strengths, and we find new strengths that we didn't have before, that were in there. We just never had to go through something like that before. So it makes us stronger than we ever thought we were. We make it through, and guess what? That takes us back to hope. So that's the cycle. Hope produces suffering, which produces perseverance, which produces character, which produces hope. So once we have that strength and find that strength and build that character, that gets us back to the hope. Now we can do it all over again. And the cool thing would be if we only had to do that cycle once in our lifetime. But not only do we have to do it more than once, but sometimes we might have multiple cycles going on at the same time, right, Diane? We've got the business cycle and the family cycle and the parent cycle and the kids cycle, all going on at the same time. And but I find strength in that scripture, and just thinking about that hope cycle of knowing I've just got to persevere. I'm going to get through this. Once I persevere, I'm going to build strength. I'm going to build character, and that's going to give me hope again. That's what I'm seeing in our businesses. We're going through this cycle. We get to the suffering. It sucks. We keep persevering. We realize, oh my gosh, we can actually make sales on the phone and through video and things like that, which gives us strength, builds character, and we get hope that we can do this another day. We don't have to find another career now that COVID-19 is here. So it is very applicable to what we're going through today, but to me, it's very applicable on a day-to-day basis. Even in regular business, when we don't have COVID-19 going on, we're still going through these cycles. And as you're recruiting and bringing on new team members, they're going to be going through these cycles. And the key is, like I said earlier, don't get stuck in the suffering. Just keep pushing through, because if you do, you persevere, you find that this can work, and you make it work. So I just wanted to share that kind of on a lighter note maybe, but it just helps me as I'm going through things, just to kind of remember that scripture and remember the cycle, and know, hey, if I keep pushing, I'm going to get back to the hope. But I got to keep pushing, because if you get stuck somewhere in that cycle, you're not going to get back up to the and we've got to just keep going to get to that hope. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Like I said, I heard the podcast a year ago, and every now and then it just comes back up to my mind, and I think it's very applicable for this point in time. So wanted to share that with you. And okay, so let's get into some of the nitty gritty I'm going to go over just some of the recent changes and kind of highlight some of the information with the telesales and what's going on and what's changed. I know we've had several more people join on, so I do want to let you guys know I want this to be interactive. I want you to ask questions, either type questions in the chat box, or later on when we open it up for Q&A, you can unmute yourself and ask questions. So Tim asked, is there any progress on Forrester's plan right for phone sales? Unfortunately, not at this time. Tim, great question. We're getting that question a lot. In fact, I was just on the phone with Jim Henson right before I jumped on the training here, and we were talking about it. But right now, it's still face-to-face only with Plan Right, and we don't know, we don't have a date as to when that may change. Stan says lie and tell us yes. I wish I had a better answer. So good news is we did get CFG. So as of this morning, you're now able to do CFG through telesales, and the way that they're doing their signature process is a little bit different than most of our, where most you send that email and have to sign their electronic app through email. FG is doing a voice signature. So you're able to go through the e-app or the paper app, either one, and then they're able to sign the application via a voice signature. They're not doing the email thing, which is good. The authorization that you have to read to the client is rather lengthy, but it is what it is. Trying to get them to sign it through email is rather lengthy as well. So that's both CFG final expense and CFG term. So you can do that now, not face-to-face, paper app or e-app, either one. We did send out instructions. I know great salespeople are usually not the best at following instructions, but in this in this day and age, with things changing and these new processes, it will help you if you do follow the instructions, or at least read them and familiarize yourself with it, particularly that authorization that you have to read to the client, because if you see that for the first time, right as you're getting ready to talk to a client, you're going to be like, oh my, hold on, grab a drink, we're going to be here for a while. So the only thing that we have right now out of all of our major carriers that you cannot do over the phone is the Forrester's Plan Right. Everything else now you can do over the phone or via video. So that's nice. Another process as far as kind of differentiating with the different carriers, most of the carriers are requiring with their e-app the email being sent to the client for them to sign the application. The Western will also do a voice signature. So if you have maybe someone older that you don't have to put through that email process, option CFG, Great Western, you can do the HMA without an email signature, and you can do the Medico Hospital Indemnity plan, which we have been selling a good many of those just because people are afraid they're going to have to go to the hospital for the whole virus thing. So those four carriers, CFG for term or final expense, Great Western, they both do voice signature, and then with the HMA and the Medico Hospital Indemnity, HMA, they do all that online. They just type in their name. The Hospital Indemnity does the voice signature as well. So the rest of them are doing the email process. One that's a little bit different. So with Mutual of Omaha, you can actually go out to their website and download a PDF of their paper application. And you actually have to do this if you're selling the GULE, the Guaranteed UL Express, or the IULE, their new product, the Indexed Universal Life Express. Those two products, they do not have an e-app on. They're working on both, but it's going to be later in the year before we have those. So with the GULE and the IULE, you have to follow this process, but you can do this with any of their products where you can download a PDF of the application. You can fill it in electronically on your computer, and you can have the client sign it through DocuSign, which is a little bit of an easier process than having to send the email to them and try to walk them through that email signature. So that Mutual of Omaha is the only carrier that has that option. I was doing some training last night for carries and some of the people on the West Coast, and they had asked about that. Was there anyone else that would use DocuSign? So I contacted carriers to find out. And as of right now, Mutual of Omaha is the only one that has the capability of doing that. So, so that's a little bit different. So when it comes to indexed universal life IUL products, with the exception of the IULE since it's simplified issue, but F&G, NLG, Allianz, so the IUL products, as well as most, not all, but most of the annuities require that you do the appointment via a video. Because one of the big things with those products is they want you to verify the identity, that the person you're talking to is actually the person they say they are. So you have them hold up their ID, you take a picture of it, and that's how you verify their identity. So with F&G, they require everything to be done via video, and most of the other carriers do as well. There are a few on the annuities that don't, but most with those higher premium products, they're wanting them to be done via video, not just over the phone. So that's something to be aware of. Changes as far as underwriting goes. So most of you probably saw, I think it was Friday, that Transamerica stopped accepting apps over age 75. And that includes their final expense product. So they, until further notice, they will not accept any applications for someone over age 75. Other carriers are setting age limits on fully underwritten products. Mutual of Omaha, I just got something this evening. They're not taking any fully underwritten over age 70 right now until further notice. So carriers are kind of moving in that direction. Hopefully none of our other simplified issue carriers will do that. Like I said, I was just talking to Jim Henson, and I think Nassau Re is coming out with something tomorrow where they're limiting their issue ages as well. So we're starting to see that. Right now it's just Transamerica, Mutual of Omaha, fully underwritten, and other Transamerica products, but mostly the final expense, what we sell. But just, we have been trying to post everything on Band, because we know you guys get inundated with emails, and I'm getting multiple emails a day from each of our carriers with things updating and changing. And I know you guys are too. So we're trying not to inundate you with a whole bunch of emails. We're trying to post all this updated information on Band. If you're on this training and you're new and you don't know what Band is, BAND, talk to your manager, talk to the person that hired you. It's kind of our own social media, and we're posting all of these updates and information. And we're also, anything that has to do with procedure changes, product changes, age changes, any of that, we're putting on there with hashtag COVID-19. COVID-19. So you can search that. When you go on Band, you can search COVID-19 and it'll bring up all the posts. So you don't have to scroll through everything to find the information that has to do with the carriers and all that data information. So be checking Band, and as boring as carrier emails are to read, now we kind of have to, because things are changing rapidly and we don't miss something. Like I said, we're trying to post multiple times to let you know, especially if it's breaking information like the new CFG and issue ages changes for Transamerica and things like that. But just kind of be on the lookout because things are changing every single day. And once we've got all the details about Nassau Re, I'm sure we're going to be blasting that out and putting it on band in the morning. But Jim said that they are getting ready to limit their issue ages as well. I don't know. He didn't say if it was on just final expense, but be on the lookout because more changes are coming. So the only other I have had people ask, well, what if we come across someone who had it, who got diagnosed with COVID-19? So pretty much all the carriers are saying for someone that has been diagnosed with COVID-19, they will not accept an application for 90 days. That's kind of across the board. Everybody said they just got to put it on hold, and in 90 days, then we'll kind of see what's going on at that time for anyone that has been diagnosed with it. I did have some people ask, well, what if somebody bought a policy, like a year ago, and they die from COVID-19? That's going to be covered. I mean, that was somebody bought a policy a year ago. That was way before any of this stuff ever started. And there's nothing in our life insurance policies that says it won't pay out for a pandemic. So, if they got a policy and they're worried, they're good. They don't have to worry unless they lied on their application about something else and they've only had it 2 years. Then they might have something to worry about. But they can't deny their claim or not pay it because they die of the virus.
Hey Gina, what about
yeah? Go ahead.
What about accidental?
Accidental, you know what? That is a good question. I don't think I'll look at Moo's exclusions on that policy, but I don't think it says anything about a pandemic on there. So I think even with the accidental, they'd be fine. But I'll verify that, and then I'll text you, Stan, Tim, Diane, some of you, Chris, so you guys can get it out to the rest of your team. But I think they're good with the accidental as well. Yeah, good question. Okay, so one of the things I do want to mention with e-apps. So e-apps for some people are new. A lot of our carriers have had e-apps for a long time, but some people just like doing the paper apps and found it easier. So it's kind of another new process to learn all the different things with the e-apps. What you can do is you can go in and just do like a dummy e-app. You can act like you're writing a policy on yourself. You can go through the process, see what all they're asking you. That the whole entire, you can go through the whole process. As long as you don't hit the submit this application button at the very end, you're good. Nothing's going to the company. Nothing's getting saved. So I would recommend early in the morning, late at night, not like in the afternoon when you can be calling clients or recruiting or things like that. But early in the morning, late at night, kind of go through and play with those e-apps and familiarize yourself with them. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, but it does help to just kind of go through and play with it and kind of familiarize yourself. So just know that you can do that ahead of time. Trying to think of all the different things I've been going over with people. One other thing that I do want to hit on before we kind of open up for some questions is something that I think is very, very important that we make sure we're doing when we're talking to people on the phone or through a video. And that is building the why. We talk about this face to face when we're setting with clients. Make sure you're building the why. And I know we have some newer people on the call. That just simply means asking questions to find out what is the situation in this home when there's a death that happens, and showing them the value of the insurance. And so there's we've done, Jason and Tawny Carey did an awesome training last week. I think it was on Thursday. I know it's been posted to band several times, but they did an amazing, like, hour-long training on telesales, and they talked a little bit about the importance of building that why too. I usually talk about, make sure you're building at 5 layers deep, which means you're asking questions and just asking more questions to get the client to reveal to you what the situation is going to be when there's a death in that home. And what I mean by that is, like, the first question is typically, what were you thinking when you filled out this form? Or what were you thinking when you went online and requested this information? Typically everybody asks that question. And what sometimes I see newer people doing is, you're going to get a 50,000-foot answer that question, which, if it's a final expense lead, they're going to be like, "Well, we want to make sure our kids don't pay for our funeral," something like that. And what I see new people do is they're like, "Oh, okay, that's great. Well, we're going to get that taken care of. Don't have to worry about that. I need your driver's and your banking information." That thing of three buttons in the form, we've got to go deeper than that. So just real quickly, what that could look like is, the first question could be, what were you thinking when you filled out information? The second question could be something like, well, why is that important to you? The third question, let's say it's a final expense lead, could be, okay, well, let's say that you died last week, and it's always in the past because everybody thinks it's going to happen way in the future. It's like, nope. Mary, Bob died last week, and it's time to, get the body in the ground and hold the services or cremation or whatever it is that they want. Tell me what's going to happen here. How are we going to come up with the funds to bury Bob or to cremate him or whatever? So it's really getting into, what are they going to do? Are they going to have to set up a GoFundMe, have chicken dinner, and raise money at the church, or what is going to happen? How are they going to come up with the money? And so that's 3 levels deep. 4 levels deep could be, okay, so let's say that they say, well, the kids are probably going to have to come up with the money. Well, is that going to, for any of your kids, is that going to be easy? I mean, are they going to have $1,500, $3,000, $6,000, whatever dollars, just laying around that they'll be able to use? And typically the answer to that is no. It's probably going to be a struggle for them. So then the 5th question could be, okay, so what are they going to have to do? Do you have any idea how they would come up with the money, and how is that going to affect their family and in the other obligations that they have? Not to mention, that they just lost a parent, and they may, want to take time off work, and, but it's really just digging deeper into questions. For a mortgage protection lead, it could be, what were you thinking when you sent in the form? Why is that important to you? Tell me what's going to happen when you've got to leave the house, or tell me when it's going to get hard for you to start making this mortgage payment. Bob's gone, you've just lost his income. When is it going to be hard for you to start making the mortgage payment? And they may say, I can't make it next month, or they may say, well, I could get by a few months, then it's going to get hard. Doesn't really matter what the answer is. The 4th question could be, where are you going to go when you got to leave the house? Where are you and the kids going? Who are you going to live with? Where are you going to go? And then the 5th question could be an additional question. Let's say they say, I'm going to go live with my sister. It's like, you could say something like, oh, okay, so does your sister live just right down the street here? Or, oh no, she lives like 3 states away. It's like, oh, okay, so when the kids go back to school, they're going to have to find a new school, and Johnny plays soccer, so he's going to have to find a new soccer team. And they're like, yeah. So you're really just getting into why this is so important for the family to take care of this, because they're telling you all the struggles they're going to have to go through if they don't get it taken care of. And that's what we call building the why. And that's extremely important. And I think even more important right now because people are scared. This virus has people scared. They want to get life insurance because they think they're going to die of the virus. I mean, it's crazy that it takes this pandemic for people to come to grips with mortality. They didn't think they were going to die before the virus came along, but now all of a sudden there's the virus and they think they're going to die. So people are scared. And that has them looking for insurance, which is a good thing. They need the insurance. They're probably not going to die of the virus, but they still need the insurance. But the reason why I bring up this building the why and making sure we're doing that on the phone or the video is because this thing is going to pass. We are going to get over the COVID-19. And probably sooner rather than later, things are going to be back to normal. We all have short memories when it comes to this kind of thing. And we're all going to forget how it was, what we had to do during COVID-19. And those people that bought life insurance and didn't die of the virus and finances might be tight because they've lost their job or they got laid off for a period of time or their hours got cut back or whatever, and they start looking at their budget and they're thinking in their mind, oh, well, we didn't die of the virus. We really don't need the life insurance anymore, which is not true, but that's what I don't want to happen. I don't want people to buy this out of fear. Then the fear subsides and then be like, well, we really don't need this and cancel it. Because then what's going to happen, a few months down the road is a bunch of chargebacks are going to come in. And I know you guys don't want chargebacks. So just make sure that we're continuing to build the why on the phone and just showing them the value of what this insurance coverage can do for their families. So that when things get tight, they're like, oh, yeah, no, we can't get rid of the life insurance. Remember, we talked about what was going to happen if we didn't have this life insurance. So that they're not like, oh, we really don't need this. Let's just cancel it. So I did want to mention that as well. Okay, so I've done a lot of talking. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions. So again, either unmute and ask questions or I'll be watching the chat as well. So what questions do you guys have? Okay, so Rogers put in the chat that he did his first CFG telesale today. So congratulations, Rogers. He says it's simple but a lot. So Rogers, do you mind commenting on that? I have an idea. The a lot part was all those authorizations that you have to read for the voice signature, but do you mind commenting on that real quick? Rogers, we can't hear you. If you're talking, you're still on mute.
I'm looking for him.
Okay.
No. I mean, he might be calling in and he can't unmute, Gina.
Oh, okay. That's all right. I just wanted to see kind of what his experience was on that because I was wondering.
Try to unmute him. Let me see. Rogers?
Rogers? Yeah. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I just I'll try to get in touch with him later and get some feedback on that. But what questions do you guys have?
They have you here right now, Gina. They can ask you anything, right? They'll wait till we get off the phone and we'll text you.
Yes.
Hey, Gina, I just wanted to know how you were doing.
Oh, thank you, Stan. I'm doing awesome. People keep asking me, is it weird not to travel? And I'm like, well, it's really only been a week and a half that I haven't been traveling. I'd been traveling up until like the middle of last week. So, but it's not gotten weird to me yet because I was just busy traveling and doing what I do. And now I'm busy talking on the phone and doing Zoom meetings, but I'm doing awesome. Thank you for asking.
Now you're going to start doing some nighttime IUL training too?
Yes, thank you, Chris. So I'm going to do every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So 7 p.m. your time. I'm trying not to overlap with the national STPs that are going on and things like that. I believe on Thursdays they're doing Pacific time. So I don't think it overlapped with one of the STPs, but every Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern time, I'm doing an hour-long IUL training. It started last week. Last week was really, really basic stuff of finding the right prospect and just real basic of how an IUL works. And I did also post the video link today on Band. If anybody missed last week's, they can go back and listen to it. And then it's gonna be kind of a building. So each week I'll just briefly touch on what we talked about the prior week and then dive a little deeper. And then the next week, same thing. We'll briefly touch on the week previous and dive a little deeper until we get into, some really advanced how to build the cases and, things like that. So it just started last week. So if you missed last week, again, we were very, very basic last week. So we're just really starting the series to dive into things. So if people or any of you want to learn more about IULs, and it is also interactive where you can ask questions, then every Thursday at 8 o'clock. And if you do miss it, I will be posting the recordings every week as well. So it's a good opportunity to be able to hear the training and ask questions at the same time versus like going on the university and watching things and not being able to ask questions.
So what is the link to the Zoom to participate in the training?
So it's been posted. It's been posted on Band. I posted it yesterday and I posted it again today along with the recording for last week. So you the recording for last week and the to one this week. So I will post it again on Thursday morning on Band as well.
And there's gonna be like the live training is gonna be on Zoom.
Yes, sir. It sure is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I do see it right now. You did post it. I see it.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, Johnny just did his first telesales too.
Yay, Johnny!
Way to go!
Awesome. That is awesome.
It was a little bit.
Johnny, feedback.
You need some feedback?
Yes. Tell us what you learned.
Well, I learned that you really gotta prepare yourself before you go in. And the first time, that was the very first Facebook lead that I got. The first time, the lady just straight up hung up on me, and I called her a couple of days later with a different number, and she was a little bit nicer. And then the third time I talked to her, she was busy, but I called her that evening about 5 or 6 o'clock, and we stayed on the phone till about 9. I had all kinds of technical difficulties on my end, and when we finally overcame that, I had to teach her how to sign it, and I had no clue what it looks like on her end.
Yeah.
So prepare, and I thought I was ready, but I really was not. I did everything that you said. I wrote the apps myself, and I did not submit them all the way, and I did a couple of them, and I thought that I was in a good shape, ready to go. That was not the case.
Hey,
so,
you made it through.
I made it through, and I was really happy because, along the way, the lady told me a lot about her life story, and she was in a bad shape. So I was really happy to help her have some coverage, so at least she can be buried with some dignity, if nothing else, So it was really a heartbreaking deal. But after I was done, I was like, I did it, Like Stan always tells me, get off that emotional roller coaster, man. You are up and down. And I'm like, I can't help it,
So
Well,
what do you think made the difference where she finally started talking with you, Johnny?
You know what? I think it was combination of she was probably got tired of having me call her, and every time we talked, I tried something new. I tried something new every time we listen to somebody's training, something new, and you improve your speech every single time. So by the time I finally got to talk to her, she didn't even remember that it was me calling her all the other times. She was telling me people were bugging me, and people were calling me every other day, and I had to hang up on them. And everything that she did to me, she was telling me about it as if it was somebody else. So I think it was a combination of her getting tired of being called and me improving how do I approach the script, and I stopped sounding so monotone, like, hi, I am calling you about the Facebook, so when I started being a little bit more open, and I guess what Gil and Stan said today, when you dress up and put some perfume on there, get some
Cologne, baby.
out, huh?
Put you some cologne on, baby. That's right.
Cologne, that's it. Cologne,
You gotta go to work, Johnny. Don't be sitting there in no raggedy. Don't sit up there in no raggedy t-shirt, no sweatpants. You ain't got no swag like that, baby. You gotta hey, put you a blazer on, put you on a polo or something. Whatever you gotta do to get your swag on. That's what you gotta do. Good job, buddy.
When I was doing it in my SpongeBob SquarePants pajamas, it just wasn't working, So.
Gina, I have a question.
Yes, Miss Ellen.
Hi. Thank you for your help today.
You're welcome.
And Chris, but I have a question about it. You said you wasn't sure if it was going to let me submit the application without having to sign it. But guys, let me tell you what my question I had for Gina. I had Mutual of Omaha application that I did, Living Promise. The daughter was the pair on it. So it told me that I needed a wet signature. So I wasn't sure if it was a one particular form I had to print out and bring it to them to sign, or did I have to print the whole application out? So Gina, it did let me finish the application, but it told me that I needed a wet signature. But when I hit submit, it still let me submit it. So do I have to scan the entire application once I get them to sign it, or just send in the bank page where they sign it?
Yes, you just have to send in the bank page. So, yes. So what Helen was doing, it had the different payer, and with Mutual of Omaha's e-app, if you have a payer that's different than the insured and owner, it will let you submit the electronic application. You can put the payer's name and everything, but it will tell you that they do have to have a wet signature on the bank form. So you do not have to scan the whole application. Just have them sign just that bank form, and then scan the bank form to Mutual of Omaha.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, Gina.
Yeah, there's all kinds of little quirky things with the e-apps. Yes, Tim.
Hey, for one, and add on too, I just got a notice back with that signature for the wet signature. You can still do that also with DocuSign with Mutual of Omaha. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's the email that I got back from them about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, my question was, do you foresee any of these new procedures with the telesales with the carriers rolling back once the COVID is gone?
They haven't really talked about that too much yet. So I think that some of the ones like CFG who didn't have any kind of procedures in place at all prior to this might do it. But, I don't know. I think it's going to be, even once things start kind of opening up, I think there's still going to be a lot of people, particularly seniors, that are a little leery. And so I think this is going to be an ongoing thing for quite a while before we get to 100% normal. So I don't really see it changing much in the near future, but who knows? They haven't really said if it's temporary or not. Some of our carriers had these processes all along. It was just not something that we ever dealt with because we always saw people face to face. but they have not really said specifically whether they'll continue with allowing it or whether they'll cut it off.
Okay, yeah, I see that with some of the recruiting now. People are getting engaged where they can do it from telesales, and so my concern was what happens later, 6 months down the road, if they roll some of these back, we might lose some of these agents. So that's good that hopefully, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Omaha hasn't really changed much that I can see, but some of the other carriers, yes.
Yeah. Mutual of Omaha, Foresters, Nassau Re, F&G, NLG, a lot of these companies had these procedures in place prior. So that's how it was easy for them to kind of roll into this. They already had it as an option. It just wasn't, like I said, something that we used, but someone like CFG might take it away later on. They really have not said. So
I had a question on the
and
dockies.
again, I'll let you guys continue to ask questions. Some other tips. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no, just real quick on the DocuSign, clarify which companies allow DocuSign, and is it just DocuSign they will allow? Can you kind of cover which ones will and won't do that for the conditions if somebody's trying to meet a requirement?
Yeah, the only one, so Mutual of Omaha will allow it on new applications as well as, like Tim just said, requirements. I know Foresters allows it on some of the requirements. They did that long, they've been doing that all along. Foresters will not allow it. They don't have the capabilities for like a new application to do it. And with Mutual of Omaha, it's not just DocuSign. There's 3 or 4 other vendors, I guess it is, that does similar to what DocuSign does. I don't remember the names right off the top of my head, Chris, but I will make a note to send that to you as to what the other vehicles you can use with Mutual of Omaha. And then the F&G and NLG, I think, have some DocuSign capabilities, but I'm not sure exactly what all it's for. I don't think it's for new applications. I think Mutual of Omaha is the only one that has it for like a brand new application. I think some of the other companies use it for like outstanding requirements. And most of the time when they email the agent letting them know what the requirement is, they will let them know, here's how you can send it back to us. And if they can use DocuSign, they'll usually let them know that.
Cool. Awesome. And I'm sure
Does
Great
that
Western, I'm sure Great Western AIG does too. I think it'd be good because I know I ran into an issue, but it's been a little bit where some would take DocuSign, but nobody else. And it was a little confusing. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is Azim.
Hey, Azim.
How is everyone?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I see a smile on everyone's face, so I take everyone is happy. Very good. At least they don't care about COVID-19.
That's right.
Well, this morning I had a little setback news, and I was not expecting it. TDI sent me a letter that it's a notice that your license will expire in 90 days if you don't take CE, continuing education.
Right.
So I called them, and actually they said that your license is expired and you have to take CE, and then it'll be renewed before May 29th. So I was under the impression that if I have not made any sale, then license doesn't get expired.
Mm-mm.
Is it the case?
Mm-mm.
No, typically you have a 2-year window from when you first get your license. You've got 2 years and then it'll renew, and you have to do those CE requirements before the end of that 2-year renewal is typically how the states work.
I see, but they never send me any. They never send me any notice prior to the one I just received this morning.
I'm not sure how every single state handles that. I know my license is in Florida, and I know I constantly got emails reminding me that I had to have it done by a certain date.
It's not that bad. It's a very easy to resolve. I think I should be able to get it done in maybe within a couple of weeks. So is like I'm still very lucky that it is. I talked to the gentleman up there. He said that you just pay the fine and then you should be okay. Plus, of course, continuing education. So which I'll do it in a few days and then I'll go ahead and have it reinstated. But this was a little setback, because communication-wise, TDI never communicated with me prior to this.
Okay.
However, they said that they have communicated. I don't have any other email, but this one. If I knew about it, of course, I would have taken care of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I've been keeping. I was thinking that every year I pay, or every 2 year I pay $50 their fee. So I thought this is the renewal fee. That's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have continuing education in my mind. And I talked to Penny once in the office, and she was, she was thinking that, it is true that if you have not made any sale, then you don't have to take CE to do another sale or new sale.
Hey, Azim, that's if you haven't done any sales, then you might not be subject to the fines that come. You have to pay fines.
I see.
Yeah. So you might not have if it's not your. Some people have a license and just hold it and don't make sales. Yeah. So you'll be okay. Well, so you just got to jump in and take a week and knock out that training, and then get you some dang on Facebook leads and get on this training and start making some money like Johnny.
That sounds like a plan.
There you go.
Right.
Well, Stan been helping me a lot, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Stan is.
Well, everybody helps. So I like to jump on the board and up and running ASAP. So awesome. I'll have this taken care of.
Awesome. Sounds good.
And I'm very excited to just jump in on the board. Okay.
Awesome. Well, we'll see him on here in just a couple of weeks, posting his numbers that he made his first telesale.
Oh yes. I love talking to people, by the way.
Yeah, awesome. That's all we do is talk to people. Talk to people. That's how we make money.
That's true.
Okay. A couple other quick tips. I've been trying to listen to as many of the different trainings that we've had going on and kind of gathering information so I can pass it along to everyone as I'm doing training for the different hotspots and stuff. So I heard Mike and Noel Levkovich had a call a couple weeks ago, and some of their people gave some good tips. And one thing in particular that I really liked, Junior Correa and Katrina Gustin were talking about this, and they both struggled a lot in the beginning with the telesales. It took them a while to kind of get the rhythm, which again I'm hearing is pretty much across the board happening. And they said one of the things that they did that really helped them when they were on the phone was they put a note up, by their computer or wherever they were making their dials, and they had 4 things written on the note. One of them was smile. The second one was be genuine. Be genuine. The third one was bring hope. And the fourth one was joy. Joy. So smile, be genuine, bring hope, and joy. And I know Junior said that the moment he stopped thinking about him and, try to get through all this and perfect everything, and he just made it about the client and talking to them and kind of bringing up their spirits and bringing joy to them and bringing hope to them and letting them know we could help them out and getting to know them, just genuinely building rapport with them and getting to know them. He said that's when everything changed for him. So yeah, they kept those notes up in front of them when they were dialing, and that really helped them to kind of stay in the right frame of mind as they were talking to people. Because one of the things that they mentioned is, unlike when you're out in the field running appointments, if you have a bad appointment, you've got drive time to your next appointment that you can kind of get your mind right for the next appointment. And when you're on the phone nonstop, you don't have that. So you've got to keep your mindset good. If one appointment went really well or really bad, you've got to have the right mindset as you pick up that phone and talk to the next person. And that kind of helped them stay in the right frame of mind of focusing on the client. And the smile, we tell people that all the time, that when you're dialing, make sure you have a mirror in front of you when you're dialing, because when you're smiling, that comes through on the phone. People, they feel that. So I really liked that. Speaking of, I think Johnny mentioned the having them sign their application through the email method, which has been a struggle, particularly with seniors. And a couple of, first of all, Carrie went through both Mutual of Omaha and Transamerica's process and screenshotted every single thing that the client's going to see as they're going through that email signature process. And I know he posted that on Band. I think it's been posted a couple of times, but that way you can see what they're seeing. Because just like Johnny said, when you have no idea what they're looking at, it's hard to kind of walk them through the process. They get sent an email, but you have no idea what that looks like and what they're supposed to click on. So Jason did a screen by screen document that shows you exactly the process of what the client's going to see for both Mutual Omaha and Transamerica. And something that Junior said he did was, when the client got the email, he had them forward it to him so he could see what they were seeing. And he was not signing the application for them. make that clear. But at least he had the email and he could click on things and he could see exactly what they were seeing. So just a couple tips on making it a little easier for that email signature, because a lot of our companies are requiring that. So a couple of tips there. The virtual business cards, I know a lot of people have used those. There's been a lot of things banned on those. If you're part of President's Club, they will have a virtual business card. And I know people are having a lot of success with that for credibility, because what we were finding in the beginning, things were going great until you asked them for their social security number over the phone or their banking information over the phone. And they're like, well, I'm not giving you my social security number over the phone. And so it just helps to build credibility. It has your license number on there. There's a code thing that they can scan that gives the client all the information about your license with the state of Texas or wherever. So that was, I've heard that some people are texting out that virtual business card before they call the lead and say, hey, I'm getting ready to call you about this state regulated life insurance that you ask about, or whatever lead you're responding to. And that's helping. Or once you're on the phone with the person, let them know, hey, I'm going to send you over my business card that has all my licensing information, and it just helps to build credibility so that you don't get those roadblocks later on when you start asking for social security number, banking information, things like that. One thing that a couple that I got from Big Crane, I was doing some training for the Detroit group last week, and he says a couple questions that he's asking the client when he's just kind of getting to know them. One was, are they working from home? And that tells him Are they laid off? Do they lose their job? And that could be a recruiting opportunity. So he just, at just a casual, hey, so are you working from home now with this whole COVID-19 thing going on? And then, they're just telling him whatever their situation is, either, no, well, I'm home, but I lost my job due to this, or yeah, our company's letting us work from home, or whatever the situation is. But that could be a recruiting opportunity. With the seniors that he's talking to, he's asking them, so are you going out and doing your own grocery shopping, or are your kids doing that for you? And that, again, just a very relevant question right now. And that tells him, are their kids, are they close to their kids? Which could be a couple of things. It could be referrals. It could be, do we need to bring that son or daughter or son-in-law or whoever into this conversation? Do they help them make financial decisions and things like that? It just it's a very valid question right now, and just kind of gives him some more information that helps him later on. So I loved those two questions that he's asking clients. So are you working from home? And are you doing your own grocery shopping, or are your kids doing it for you? Because I know I don't live close to my mom, but my sister does, and they will not let her go to the grocery store. They're like, you are not going to the grocery store. We're going to get your groceries for you. So, okay. So another thing that's going to help with keeping the business on the books, follow up with these clients is huge. So one of the things that I know Jason Carey is doing is he's telling the clients, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to call you in a couple of days, and we're going to set up your emergency response system. So he's not taking the time to do that on the initial call, because the initial calls are taking longer with going through the application, the signature process, all of that. He just tells them, hey, I'm going to call you in a couple of days. He tells them what the ERS system is. And he says, I'm going to call you in a couple of days, and we're going to set up your emergency response system. And just following up with them on the process, letting them know, hey, we're probably going to hear in about a week whether they've approved you or not. Now, we know most cases it's like 24 to 48 hours, but we tell them usually it's about a week, we'll hear something. So once their app is approved, calling them up and saying, hey, great news. I just notified by the insurance company that your application's been approved. They're going to be sending your policy in the mail. You'll probably get that in about a week. I'll call you again. We'll go over the policy, answer any questions that you have. Just keeping as many touches as you can have with people in the process is going to make them comfortable with you, your IULs, all those things that we typically do in the home that we're not necessarily doing on that first phone call because it's taking so long. Don't not do it, just do it at a different time and just continue to follow up with people. That makes them very comfortable that this is not I just gave this person my social security number and all my banking information and then I never hear from them again. If you keep in touch with them, they're going to feel very comfortable about you and the whole process, and it will also help your business to stay on the books. So make sure that you're following up with them to let them know what's going on in the process. So those are some of the other things that I've learned just from listening to some of the other training and calls. So thank you guys for posting that link in the chat for the training.
Gina, question, follow on with the follow-up.
Chris is making some notes in the chat as well. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, with a follow-up, we're doing postcards, we're doing follow-up calls and that kind of stuff. Would you recommend normally, I know not everybody has them, but all of the folders and all of the information that you would normally leave them, buyer's guide, all that stuff, and do a telesales, would you recommend putting a packet like that in the mail to them to get that to them before their policy comes in, or not for that extra trouble?
I think that's not a bad idea. because again, it's just another touch. When we talk about touches, it doesn't necessarily have to be you calling them or seeing them or something like that. It's just one more thing that solidifies, here's some of the information that we went over. I haven't heard that anybody else is doing that, but I don't think it's a bad idea. One thing that I know some people are doing is they're telling the clients, they're like, hey, once all this craziness ends, I'm coming to see you. I'm going to come meet you face to face. And so whether it's something that you wait and take it to them later or just go ahead and mail it to them, I think it's important to get that information to them. So I think either way, whatever works best for you, I think it's a great idea.
Gina, I'm doing it on my local ones.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, Tim, it's just a date. I might have 6 of them in one deal, and I'll just drop that package off. But it's typically within like 24 to 48 hours.
You're dropping them off to their home individually?
Yeah, because I'm still here locally within an hour radius. Like tomorrow, I have to do like 1, 2, 3. I have to do 4 that all within the same area. So stuff that I wrote on Sunday.
I've been dropping them in the mail, but I'm just wondering if I'm doing more than I need to, just with cost and back and forth here to the post office. So okay.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. As long as it stays on the books.
Well,
Yeah.
Stan, what planet are you on? It looks like you're in a Star Trek movie.
It's my own. This is my own planet.
Does it call Money Planet?
We do not use the currency that you Earthlings use. We use the currency.
I like to visit that planet. I can go out from there.
And now we're on the beach.
I think next week we should put our own backgrounds on them.
I'm at. This is Diane's house right here.
Oh
Yeah, see it now. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the one with the 5-car garage, right?
Yeah, I don't know where the other one's at. It's a 5-car garage and a helicopter over there somewhere.
There you go.
He lost him. He's got so many cars he can't keep up with where they all are. All right. What other questions do you guys have?
He wants another planet.
He wants another planet. Hey, Gina, I got one more recruiting call to do.
Oh, it's like he's got the COVID people behind him now.
So,
Diane, you got recruiting calls to do?
I have one more recruiting call to do, Gina. So,
all right. Well, unless you guys have that, I know that's right. Unless you guys have any other questions, we can sign off.
Sounds good. I think we should all have new backgrounds next week.
Thank you, Gina.
I'll work on some more.
I like it.
Nothing wrong with the case of Corona. He got a case of Corona.
Stay away. I got it.
You should be able to do that pretty fast. She's looking at a background. Hurry up. I don't know how to do it, so I'll have to
I don't have any idea how to do it. If I need a different background, I'm gonna have to go in a different room.
Hey, thank you, Gina. That was such great information. I hope it caught everybody up on some things and make sure that you keep in touch. What are you doing, Tim? And it makes us all remember we need to stay close to the Albright Communications and maybe the band that your team has for the latest and greatest and stay connected. That's the way to do it because things are moving fast. That's how it works.
Actually, Dan, I do have a problem. I do have a question for either you or Gina. Maybe it doesn't relate to this topic tonight, but I just signed up for the President's Club and I got access to my 2 websites. So I need some help with those websites to see how can I really utilize.
Call for that.
Hmm?
Guess who you call for that now?
It's club.
Club.
I hope it's not Stan.
No, President's Club.
President's Club. You're paying them. They work for you now.
That's right. They're gonna help you. It's good stuff. Well,
Yeah,
thank
call
you.
them. They'll walk you through all that.
Everybody stay safe, stay healthy.